Hello, I'm Jackie, Grandma Jackie to my friends, and I hope I can count on you as my friend. I'm going to read a book today that you may have heard, but sometimes when we hear a story or see something happen, we have our own viewpoint on how the events went. And we're going to start with Little Red Riding Hood and her version of what happened. Once upon a time, there lived a little girl who was so clever and charming that everyone loved her. But her grandmother loved her the most. Her granny made her many lovely things to wear, but the little girl's favorite was a red velvet cloak and hood. She wore the cloak and hood so much that everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Now this little girl lived with her mother in a cottage near a great forest, and on the other side of the forest lived her grandmother. One day Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her a basket of honey cakes and oranges to take to Grandma. "Take these cakes and fruit to Granny," her mother said. "She has a cold and they'll make her feel better. Fix her a pot of tea when you get there, and don't look through every drawer in her house for candy." Grandchildren never do that, of course. Then her mother said sternly, "Now go straight to Granny's, my darling. Don't wander off the path or speak to strangers." Little Red Riding Hood put on her red velvet hood and she set off through the woods for Granny's house. She hadn't even gone far when she met up with a great big gray wolf. Little Red Riding Hood had never seen a wolf before. "Good morning, little girl," the wolf crooned. "And where are you off to so early?" Forgetting all about her mother's warning, Little Red Riding Hood answered, "Why, I'm off to Granny's. She has a cold and I'm taking her some honey cakes and oranges." "What a good girl," said the wolf. "And tell me, where does your granny live?" "Not far," replied Little Red Riding Hood. "Just on the other side of the woods. Her house has a red fence and 3 tall oak trees in front of it." "Oh, yes," said the wolf. "I know her house well." Now, the wolf had not eaten for 3 full days, and he couldn't help noticing how plump Little Red Riding Hood was. The rascal thought to himself, "If I'm clever, I can have this little girl for dinner, and her granny too." So he walked a bit with Little Red Riding Hood while he thought up a plan. At last, one came to him. "Just look at the lovely flowers there beyond the path," the wolf said. "I'll bet a bunch of them would perk up your granny like nothing else." "Oh, what a good idea," Little Red Riding Hood exclaimed, and she skipped off into the forest. Licking his lips, the sly gray wolf trotted down the path. In no time he was knocking on Granny's door. Tock, tock. "Who's there?" the old woman called. "Little Red Riding Hood," squeaked the wolf in the highest voice he could make. "Oh, child," Granny said, "just lift the latch and come in so I don't have to get out of bed." She was Norwegian. So the wolf did just that. He crept up the stairs to Granny's bedroom. Then he threw open the bedroom door and pounced on the old woman and ate her up before she could even say, "Wolf!" Next, the wolf put on one of Granny's nightgowns. After he had tied on one of her nightcaps, he hopped up into her bed and pulled the covers over his face. Meanwhile, Little Red Riding Hood had wandered far from the path. She had no sooner picked one flower than she spotted an even lovelier one a little farther away. At last she had gathered so many flowers that she could hardly carry them all. These should cheer up my granny, she thought as she hurried back to the path. Soon she reached Granny's house and knocked on the door. Who's there? The wolf called out. It's me, your Little Red Riding Hood, the girl answered. Then she thought, oh my, how hoarse poor Granny sounds. She must be sicker than Mother thought. Pull the latch and let yourself in, dear, the wolf coughed. I'm too ill to get up. Oh dear, Little Red Riding Hood cried, pulling the latch. Without even stopping to close the door, she ran up the stairs to Granny's bedroom and tiptoed over to the bed. Hello, Granny, she said. I brought you honey cakes and oranges. Would you like some tea? Not yet, the wolf whispered. Put your basket down here, girl, and sit on the bed beside me. So Little Red Riding Hood climbed up on the edge of the bed, but when she leaned over to give her grandmother a kiss, she was astonished at how strange Granny looked. She sat up again quickly. Why, Granny, she exclaimed, what big arms you have. The better to hug you with, my dear, replied the wolf. But Granny, what big ears you have, the girl said. All the better to hear you with, was the reply. But Granny, what big eyes you have, the better to see you with, my dear. But Granny, what big teeth you have, all the better to eat you with, snarled the wolf. And with that, he threw off the covers and swallowed Little Red Riding Hood in one gulp. Now, the wolf should have run away then, and so no one would have been the wiser as to what he had done with Little Red Riding Hood and Granny. But his full belly made him drowsy and foolish, and he lay back down in the bed. Soon he was fast asleep and snoring loudly. Just then, a huntsman passed by and noticed that Granny's door was wide open. I'd better see if she's all right, he thought. As he walked in the door, he was amazed to hear loud snores coming from the bedroom. My, how such an old woman could snore so loudly, he thought. But when he opened the bedroom door, he saw that it was not Granny, but the wolf lying there. Aha, you wily wolf! Aha, you wily wolf! He said softly. I've been tracking you a long time, and now I've got you. And he raised his gun to shoot the wolf then and there. Just as he was about to fire, he realized that Granny was nowhere to be seen. I'll bet the wolf has eaten her, he thought. Quickly, he took his hunting knife and cut open the wolf's stomach. To his surprise, out popped not only Granny, but the Little Red Riding Hood, too. He was almost as big, hungry as the hungry caterpillar. Then the huntsman and Little Red Riding Hood filled the wolf's belly with large stones and sewed him back up while he still slept and snored away. When the wolf awoke and saw the huntsman, he tried to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he fell down dead. Everyone was happy now. Little Red Riding Hood made tea, and the three of them ate the honey cakes and oranges she had brought. By then, Granny was feeling much better, and it was time for Little Red Riding Hood to return home before it got dark. Little Red Riding Hood went straight home this time, without stopping for anything on the way. She vowed to herself, from now on, I will listen to my mother. I will never speak to strangers or leave the path again when I'm by myself. And she never did. Now that's the way we've always heard the story of Little Red Riding Hood. But did you know that the wolf tells the story a little differently? Would you like to read what the wolf has to say about the matter? Then turn this book over.
So start that one next.
Oh, yes, stop and we'll start again.
Okay.